Today I'm going to cover more of a beginner's guide to working the front lever, the back lever, and skin the cat using the rings. Now there's a big difference between training on rings that are very high up and something that's stable. So you will notice a difference if you hang your rings over a tree or something where the rings are very high and the straps are longer. There's a big difference in the instability of the ring. So the shorter the ring, the more stable you are. The longer the strap, the more unstable you are, and the more it's going to make you work. So it makes you appreciate the gymnasts even more that are on those higher rings. The first thing we're just going to go through is the ring support positions. This is a really good way to warm up. So I'm just going to hold the rings in this position. So I'm pulling the rings into my side. There's no gap in here. So we don't want this to happen, and we don't want this to happen. So I'm not allowing myself to sink down the middle and my shoulders to shrug up. I'm going to push the shoulders back and down and try and open the chest up as best I can. If you can't do this one, if you struggle with this one, go back to doing it between two chairs or two P-bars, something that's fixed. Ideally when they're like this, not when you're too wide apart. So have it so the distance of whatever you're putting your hands on is the same as the width of your torso. Okay, so what we're going to do is a 30-second hold. So I'm going to jump up into that support position and try and hold that position for 30 seconds. So as best I can, I'm squeezing the legs together, pointing the toes. I'm trying to open the hip. So we don't want a closed hip in this position. I'm trying to open the hip, pushing the rings into my side. If it's easy, I can try and turn them out, but I'm still pushing the elbows into my side. It's much harder to turn them out. What we don't want to do is have them turning in. Okay, so the temptation there as that gets harder is for your rings to come around in front and go into that internal rotation. We want the opposite. We want to go into at least this position, and then eventually we'll start to push the rings out to an external rotated position. So there. So that's the goal with that one. I'm only going to do one set of that today, but I recommend that you build up so you can do 3 sets of that. You can also, a good one is to just superset it with a hang of some sort. So ideally you'd have a bar or something you could just jump up and hang, or have the rings at a height where you could do both. Active, passive hang, arching, scapular pull. So if I'm going to hang on the rings in this position, so at the moment I'm passive, so my body is long, I'm going to pull to active. So that's active where I now have a gap. Passive, active. So what it looks like from the side is here, I pull, active, passive, active, passive. So all that's happened there is with the shoulder blades is they are elevating and depressing, elevating and depressing. So it makes my torso go up and down. The next progression is to do an arching scap pull, which is the same thing, but as you go into depression of the shoulder blade, you also retract the shoulder blade so the chest opens. So passive, arching scap pull. So now I've retracted, opened the chest up, depressed, and then I come back to my elevated position. Okay, next one we're going to go through the skin the cat position. So if I sit down here, see I'm in my L-sit position and my arms are straight. So that's the setup we want to have here. So trying to have the back flat and being directly underneath the rings. I'm now going to stand back up, and I'm going to just do an eccentric to start with. So I'm going to go into a position where I'm upside down on the rings, and I'm going to lower back down to that L-sit position. So I'm going to go around first, walk backwards, and then do a little bit of a jump. Take butt towards the floor and come back into that position. So that's the goal, is to do that with control. Now if you do that and you move and you drop and you go too fast, or you feel like that's going to happen, just come down with one leg. So exactly the same thing. But now one leg comes down, and I keep that left leg pushed through, which allows me to slow down, and I can come into that L-sit position. Then we can do a test to see whether we can pull up from that position. So instead of starting upside down, we're going to start on the floor in the L-sit. So the hardest variation of this is to go from this position And then keeping the arms straight, I'm just going to lift and pull all the way over. I'm going to keep going, and I should be able to get feet to touch. Then I can just work between the two. So from there, go over, back down to that position again. Now again, if you struggle with that slow eccentric, so starting in that top position, so starting there, and then pulling or jumping through, lowering down straight arms as slow as possible. We really want to work those straight arms there. The temptation to get up and to lower is going to be to bend the arms as you come through there. We've got to try not to bend the arms. It might be that we need to bend the arms on the way up, but on the way down, dead straight arms. Let's just visit the German hang, so the other side of the skin the cat. So we can do this to start with by being in this position, come around. Now I'm in that. Yeah, and now, so this is German hang, but I don't have much weight or load through the shoulders because my hips are high. What I can do is start to lower the hips and just see how that feels. So I could go into a kneeling position here. So I've got tight pecs there, tight shoulders. So this is a good stretch for me with my knees on the floor. One way to make that easier from that position is I could put a mat underneath the knee so I don't get to go quite so low, but I have some weight in the knee. We want to get to the point where we can hold all of our body weight in that position, but we want to condition that slowly and just get the body used to it. Okay, once we have that, we're going to start to play with taking the rings up a little bit higher. So straight away now when I come to this height, I can't walk into the rings. So on the last ones, I walked into the rings this way, walked backwards, and that's how I got into that position. I now can't do that because the rings are too high. So I have to enter the rings in a different way. Now this is going to test our strength. So if you pull it up from that L-sit position with straight arms on the last one, you should be able to now go into this from straight arms. So hanging underneath the ring there, I'm going to pull knees to chest, come all the way through, knees to chest, hang down towards that German hang. So just kiss the floor and come back. With control, straight arms, back down again. So if you can't do that on the way up, if you can't pull yourself up with straight arms, you could do a little bit of a jump, or you could bend the arms to get over. But just remember, when you come back down, keep those arms dead straight, because you're going to condition this straight arm pulling movement to come back out again. Bottom position going into the German hang, we can have tippy toes on the floor. Obviously, taking the rings up higher is going to increase that stretch. Bending the knees and not touching the floor, so you've got full body weight in that position, is going to make that harder. So I just quickly go through, how do you make the skin the cat harder? So if we think about it like a planche front lever position thing, so if my body's in a ball, it's easier because my lever arms are shorter. So I can spin round in this skin the cat quite comfortably there. If that is comfortable and is easy, I can change this distance the knees are to the chest. So it's not changing this distance. I'm not extending the legs. What I'm going to do is extend the knees away from the chest, keeping my heels at the bottom. So that's a very slow, gradual way I can start to increase the difficulty. Now there's a massive difference between this and this when you do front levers, back levers, skin the cats. So in that skin the cat position, if I can pull up with straight arms with the knees at my chest, the harder version would be here. See the knees are away from my chest as I come through. And now when I pull back, the knees don't go towards my chest, they stay away on the way down, back to that position again. So that makes a big difference. Now there's probably 6 months, 12 months of progression there. Other progressions, I won't go into that, I need higher rings to show them, is once we get to this position, we can start to go frogs, so take the legs out. I can go into a straddle, and then open straddle, do that. And then it could go to half lay, which is, this position's an open hip, bent knees, and then eventually straight body, 360 pull type movements, but you need high rings to be able to do those. So now we're going to look at the front lever and the back lever positions. Now with this, I'd recommend that you set a video up. And the shoulder position is going to be here somewhere. We want to have the hips in line with them. We don't want them lower. They can be slightly higher, and that's how we can make it easier. But we don't want them to have lower, because that's like falling off the edge of the cliff. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into an inverted position, and then I'm just going to visit the front lever position and the back lever position in a tuck. Now this should be the easiest position. Now if you can do a skin the cat, you're already doing this. You're passing through those two positions. So inverted hang. So here, I can even play with being a starting position is here. I'm going to go into my tight tuck. Now I'm going to lower till my hips are level with my shoulders, and then pull back up. Then I'm going to go the opposite way, hips level with my shoulders, and pull back in. Back to that home position, and then come back out. Now I can see myself in the camera here, so I can see roughly that I'm level. You've got to be a little bit careful, don't have the camera on the floor, because that angle actually changes things. You want to try and have the camera on the same height, or just get someone to check. So we want to have the hip in line. Now you might be able to lower to the position and not be able to pull back yet. If that's the case, then we just need to lower, hold, and then come out of it the opposite way. Now, in terms of time, how long should we be holding these positions for? A good ballpark figure to start with is just be able to get to do 10 seconds in your front lever and your back lever position. Most people will need to train them by themselves to start with. So you do your front lever, 10 seconds, come back out, and you could go to back lever or do them on completely separate days or sessions. So there's my position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I go through to the back lever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And come back out. Now if you can do what I just done, you get 10 seconds on one side, 10 seconds on the other, back to back with no break. It probably means that you can progress individually each one and start to open up. Now for me, I'm tighter in the shoulders and in the back. And what that means is my front lever position, sorry, my back lever position is way easier than a front lever position. And it'll be the case for most people. The lever arm's a little bit longer on the front lever as well, because you're not wound up through the shoulders so much. So I can hold a full back lever position for 10 plus seconds. I can't hold a full front lever position for 10 plus seconds. So normally most people, especially if you're a bit tighter, a bit stronger in the shoulders, from a push point of view, then your back lever is going to be a lot better for longer. So what we'll do now is stick to that 10-second rule and try and open up as much as I can. So like I showed on the floor, I'm going to take the knees away from my chest, see how much I can open and still hold for 10 seconds. So we're going to experiment on both sides. So inverted position, knees to chest, hips down. Now I'm going to start to open up, take the knees away. So now it's working there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back out. It's much harder when you talk as well. So if that's how I was on that, that's where I'm going to hold my position. Do my 10-second holds there, multiple sets of that. So if I'm doing 10 seconds, I'm probably going to work up to like 10 sets of 10 seconds. I normally also work front lever with planche. So I'll be doing planche in between my front lever. So it's like a push and a pull. You could go back lever, front lever, because there's a lot of push component in a back lever. So back lever, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open out as much as I can, see if I can hold for 10 seconds. I'm not sure if I'll be able to talk, but we'll try. I'm out of breath on that one. So you can see I can more or less get to that full back lever position. I don't like the feeling in the neck if I turn the head with that one, so I'm not looking at the screen. So I need to check my video, check my level to see whether I'm in that straight position and the hips are level with the shoulders. So like I say, 10 sets back lever, 10 sets of front lever. Just make it as tucked or as open as you can do it. So hopefully that filled some gaps with your skin the cat, your front lever or your back lever, how to train it on the rings. You can obviously do the front lever and the back lever and even the skin the cat on the bar. It's just a little bit more restricted with the shoulders, a few more options with the rings. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time.